Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Good morning, campers. It's the day I should have stayed in bed. Welcome, I'm Tom Connors. It's Midnight's Edge in the morning. We got the boss man, Andre, here. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone. Glad to see you all here.
We also have a Canadian called Chato. How are you? I'm doing great, Tom. Okay, glad to hear it. So, good morning, everybody.
Were you just imitating me?
I did a shit job.
You just have to make a really high voice. That's how I sound.
That's basically what I did.
I'm just trying to warm up some coffee. Sorry, folks.
No worries.
I did have my leftover barbecue chicken as we were waiting to come online. It was good. I love leftovers. They're
I'm
good.
not a fan of leftovers.
I'm the junk. I'm the garbage scow in this family. That my son doesn't like leftovers particularly. He wrinkles his nose, and so anything that's left in the fridge, I hate letting it rot. I'm going to eat it.
I just don't like it in the microwave. It's something I can reheat easily on the stove or in the oven. I'm okay with it usually, but I'm just never been a fan of the microwave. I don't know why.
Well, what are you reheating? Kraft dinner?
No, just whatever. And I just don't like how a microwave reheats things. I hate using the term cook because it doesn't even really cook anything. No. That's the other thing that bothers me. I don't trust it.
I agree. You know what? The barbecue chicken I ate it cold. It was delicious.
Some things you can. I'm just not I'm a weirdo when it comes to food.
We're all weird.
We're all weird.
Did you have barbecue in Norway, Andre?
If we have, what was that?
Do you have barbecue?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. We love barbecue.
I saw a Norwegian video of a guy who went to the middle of frickin' Norway in some fjord, took a slab of rock out of a creek, washed it down, then took a log, drilled it, and then set fire to it, and then put the slab of rock on top of it, and then took some kind of giant fish meat and put it on top. and cooked it in the middle of nowhere, and then had spices and stuff, and it looked tasty.
Oh, it's a true son of the wild right there. And yeah, I'm sure that tasted amazing.
I would do that. I mean, I would eat it. I don't know if I would do it.
Yeah, I would also eat it, but I want him to make it for me. I'm not sure I would be able to do quite as well as that myself.
Yeah, he heated up the whole slab of rock in the coals and then cooked it on top, sizzled it on top of the slab of rock. The things we cover on Midnight's Edge, folks. Oh, well, look, we're losing listeners.
I don't know. I fell asleep. But good morning, everybody out there. Please share out the stream. Let everybody know that we are live. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. We got Packing Protons with 5, who says, another stream with Tom's favorite topic, gaming. I know, right? Wonder if Concord will be valuable as a collectible. Well, funnily enough, Grum's just posted here a little bit ago that I guess people are selling their copy on eBay already. I don't know if anybody's buying it.
Yeah, that's like the thing. You can because there was more to that story, Tom. It wasn't just that people are selling it on eBay, it's that they're selling it for ridiculous prices. In this case, for 25,000. But here's like the thing. No matter how rare something is, it's only worth what someone else is willing to pay. Yeah. And I think that the market of collectors for something like Concord on PlayStation 5 is going to be very, 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 very limited. So, so I am not entirely sure that that this game is going to fetch the $25,000 asking price. So it's a good that there's a hedge there for best offer, because that might come in hand. It reminds me of it was like more than a decade ago. It was like this video game. What's it called again? I forgot it right now.
Describe it.
Some video where you're like a bird that's like flying, not Angry Birds, but it's like some other bird that's like going up and down, avoiding stuff. And then this game was super duper popular for the mobile market, and then it got pulled. And then some asshole also tried to like sell his mobile for a ridiculous sum because that game was on it.
Oh, I see. I have a vague recollection of that.
Yeah, you see there, that's what I mean. You have a vague recollection, and that game was popular.
Yeah, I remember.
Flappy Bird. People
Flappy Bird,
Flappy Bird. Yeah.
Yes.
Flappy Bird. That's what it was. Exactly.
Well, he made a crap ton of money and just disappeared.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what happened with that, but that is pretty much what happened. And even there, people try to basically sell their mobiles for ridiculous prices because that game was on it. And now it's completely gone, I think, and you can't find it anywhere. But even with that, no one would be able to pay that. So yeah, good for you. I appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit for those who are trying to sell their Concord games. But I do not think that they are going to increase in value, nor do I think that there's going to be any appreciable demand for this game, which was so woke that it never was able to get even more than 700 concurrent players on Steam. Not even once was it able to get more than, just think about that. There's millions and millions of gamers, and the biggest games, they have up to millions of concurrent users, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands. And this game, which they spent, I believe, somewhere between $100 and $200 million developing, to the point where PlayStation, because this is a PlayStation product, from what I understand, they screwed over other games because resources were devoted to this one. And it wasn't able to get more than 700 concurrent, or less than 700 concurrent players. And now that is down to double digits. So it's not like the news of this game, because that's the main topic here, that this game is about to be Willow'ed at the end of this week. It's not like that meant that more people started checking it out. No, all that led to was mass gloating, and the people that had it dropping it like flies. So I think probably pretty much every single copy of this that was sold is going to be on eBay very soon. So I'm not going to tell anyone what to do, but if you have 25,000 to spare, you can probably get a better deal for this game than that. Or what say you?
And you know what's funny is that Dustborn financially is a bigger failure than Concord.
Well, in terms of users, in terms of number of users playing it is, in terms of
I think also in terms of the money put into it?
I'm not sure about. I mean, Dustborn, that was the Norwegian state paid, I think, like around 14 million Norwegian krona. That's like a little more than $1 million, whereas Concord was 100 times as expensive.
Okay.
So in terms of like pure losses, I think that Concord may be the bigger game.
In terms of the number of players who actually played it, Dustborn.
In that sense, if you're just looking at the penetration of the game, then Dustborn is the bigger flop. In terms of most money down the drain, I do believe Concord probably takes that particular kick.
Sony is happy.
Oh yeah, tremendously so. That's why they're pulling it from the market and giving refunds. That's what I find the most incredible of this, because they announced that they are taking the game off the market, which is good and well, because obviously while the game comes on disc, there's obviously a significant major digital component here, as it is in all modern games. And probably the server cost of having it is not justified by what the game is bringing in, would be my best guesstimate for why they are doing this. What does surprise me is that they're offering a full refund for the comparatively few people that actually bought this. Now, I kind of like get it, in since no one is really playing it, it maybe it's cheaper for them to just refund everyone, absorb the entirety of the loss, instead of pissing off people, letting them pay full price so they feel really screwed over. But still, the only money this game was ever going to make, they just refunded.
I think they're trying to get ahead of a class action lawsuit.
How would that happen?
Well, because Concord has a inherent promise that there will be enough individuals playing the game that when you log on, you'll be able to get in with a group and play fairly quickly. One of the problems with Concord is that there's so few people that the group management system times out because it can't find players to play with you.
Or rather, you'd have to play with literally every single player there is.
Well, but there aren't enough available out there. All the groups get filled very quickly because there's so few players available. And so there is an inherent promise of performance when you buy these things. And you could sue Sony just based on the fact that I bought the game, I keep logging on, and I can't play. I can't play because I'm kicked off after a half an hour. I am timed out. So I can't play the game. You sold me this game. I can't play it. I'm going to sue you. So I think that's what this is.
Well, you make a very good point there.
Yeah, class action is going to cost them a lot more than refunding all these people.
And then basically they are left with having spent between $100 and $200 million making this super duper woke game.
Yep.
And they will never earn a penny from it because they just refunded, or they're in the process of refunded 100% of everything they ever earned on it. Great business plan. Great business model right there.
Yeah, one thing that I'm curious about this entire approach to going after woke games, I'm curious now, just from a scientific perspective, if none of these games, Dustborn and Concord, were on the radar of those of us in social media going after these games, what kind of effect did it have on them, and would they actually have been successful? Would the games have been deemed good?
Well, I'm sure there are some people who will argue that, but in my case, I have never ever covered Concord itself, And I only learned about Dustborn even 1 week ago. Actually, exactly 1 week ago. Last Wednesday, when WDW Pro was our guest, he was the one who first alerted me to it. So obviously there had been some negative coverage of the game by that point, but I really think that that the order here of the chicken and the egg is that game comes out, or you have every reason to suspect that it's bad. Game comes out, and it's proven to be everything that everyone fears. And then the negative coverage kicks into high gear. Whereas if the game had come out and people had been pleasantly surprised, that wouldn't have happened. Everything hinges on shitty product. I mean, how many times have we seen that in movies and TV series, which we tend to cover a little bit more extensively, where we have something that we go in fully expecting to hate, and then suddenly it turns out, that wasn't too bad. And then we will change our tune accordingly. I mean, like, for instance, Mobius, many didn't like that game, but Tom was that movie, but Tom was a big fan of it. I don't think it was half bad either. So you have that. And for myself, it was Black Adam. I love that movie.
I mean, you should actually rephrase that as big fan. I enjoyed it for its batshit craziness. I totally understand that it's a bad movie.
Fun. You had fun with it. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
As long as you have fun with it, you have a good experience. And then it will be covered as such. But with games like Concord and Dustborn, I don't think that anyone has a good experience. The only one that had good experience were the people that were making it because they got paid for it. Especially the Sweet Baby Inks that helped destroy them even more, because they could laugh all the way to the bank. Beyond that, I do not think there's many end users that wanted the game in the first place and that enjoyed it in the second, because that's like one thing that most of these super duper woke games have. That's the beauty with Steam, is that we can see how many are online, and those numbers, they go down by the day, never up.
Which was the game that had in its description that it was rainbow friendly, and then they removed it?
There's so many of them. You have to be more specific.
No, one of these two had it in the description, and so there's a lot of cynicism involved too, where when you're so hell-bent on showing your colors, so to speak, but then later on willing to remove the raison d'etre of the game for money, doesn't it go against why you made the game in the first place?
You would think so. You would think so. And anyway, the chat are saying it's Concord.
Concord. Thank you, chat.
Yeah.
I love chat. You chat are so clever. What will we do without you?
Concord is the one that was saying the game was rainbow friendly, which I'm not surprised by. I mean, like, the only thing that surprised me is that this character in it, the one who's on the thumbnail of this video or this live stream, apparently is a male. If he's born male, or it's a woman that identifies as a she, he, him, I cannot really say, but certainly there's a lot of estrogen there either way. So
I think that's kind of funny, making a character a trans woman, because it's an animated character now. How can you tell? It's a bizarre concept.
Well, that's something that games have been doing a lot in the recent AAA releases. Uglify the women and feminize the men to make it more fluent.
And at the end of the day, what is this shit other than really LARPing?
I mean, listen, let's
so you can do it in a video game now.
Yeah, but even anime has been filled over the years with gay characters. Generally a stereotype, but they haven't avoided gay characters in their animes. They're kind of funny.
Well, the problem is a lot of these folks haven't avoided the stereotypes. Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, and the bottom line is, if there's enough people in your cohort to buy the game, then go for it. Sell it Sell it to them, make millions, but apparently they're not buying your game. That's really the bottom line. So who's left? Is it you've got your cohort, and some of whom the cosplayers who love dressing up and going to fan fests and play the games, and then you've got the cat women who are supporting this group of people just because
only in social media, not necessarily by actually buying the product.
No, they're not buying.
Be clear about that.
They're not buying the game. So yes, there's nothing wrong with anybody going for a specific market. There's games, fishing games, where hunting and fishing games where you shoot things and fish for things, and there's an audience for it apparently.
And that's good and well, but maybe don't spend 100 million making it.
No, that's the problem. Is Sony is spending general audience money. That's the problem. If they made it for $1 million, sure, then we're now back to the same issue as that movie where Universal spent $40 million on a gay date movie, and
Rose. Is that what you mean? That was actually I think it was close to $90 million or something ridiculous.
No, maybe. Anyways, the point is, it should have been a $4 million independent film, and then
exactly
you would have made money.
Yep. Yeah, that's like the thing. Always budget these things to the audience, and this is where they failed so miserably with not just these, but gaming in general. Because what I see is a crisis in gaming, and it's the same crisis that we have in entertainment. But it's just all the more potent in gaming because it's easier to boycott the product, and it's more visible when people do. Case in point, Steam, where Dustborn at the time when I recorded the video had literally 17 users, and this was in the middle of the day on Sunday in Europe. And since then, I've seen it dip to below 10 active gamers, users. Think about that. It came out 2 weeks ago, and it now has, this is a high-profile release, has less than 10 players, like 8 or 9 players or something. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that means that probably all of them are streamers or reviewers, and even they're abandoning this. It may not have a single actual user who's enjoying the game.
The difference between gaming and movies, however, is that there's no such thing as a cheap movie. Either your movie looks cheap, or requires enough money and enough good paid talent to put it over the edge to make it palatable. Because we've all seen independent movies that just reek of, oh boy, this looks like independent movie, and fine, good for them. It's a good stepping stone for your career. But a hit game can be made by one person. In fact, my son told me the other day that, there's this game made by one dude, and it's now killing on Steam.
Well, there's plenty of games like that.
You can't do that in film.
Yeah, no, you can't do that with up to AA games. If you have really, really cool indie, you can't do that. But
no one cares about the AAA games anymore, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like one person can't do a AAA game.
No,
can't do a AA.
Right, or single A. Who cares? I mean,
they just have to be a multi-talent.
Yeah, people love it. You were talking about that, the Bird game, right?
Yeah.
So Flappy Bird, and I just looked up.
Yeah, that would be one of those. And about that, Marksman of 11-7B says, Paul, Flappy Bird creator, hated the sudden fame and how easily people got addicted. He pulled it so as not to be part of the media addiction app's cause. And kudos to him, I guess. But basically, he won the lottery and gave back the ticket.
Yep. He was making $50,000 a day on the game, and he made enough. And number one, the number of people who are now pressing on him for his time, he just didn't want to be famous. And plus, people wanted updates to the game as the OS changed, right? And he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. When the OS changes, you have to be there and you have to make all of those necessary changes. If not, your games will just be gone. That's why you won't be able to find any of the games that I have had a hand in producing, because they weren't updated. So they're all gone now. So,
and it was an addictive game.
Yeah.
I remember. I played it. I wasn't very good at it.
I oversaw a ripoff of it, but anyway.
Floppy Birds.
Yeah, indeed. And also on in the reference to what Grumps was posting earlier about some people trying to sell the game for $25,000. ActionCom says for $5, Andre, can crap be valuable? Ever hear of Atari ET? Yeah, but I do not think that it would have been a good idea for anyone to buy it for $25,000 when it was everywhere. And I haven't checked what collectors are willing to spend for it, but I'm not sure that people would spend $25,000 for a copy of it even now. Of course, I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of like a different status. Whereas, what is Concord really? It's just one of many to have failed.
I was just going to say that I think someone found the Atari dump, the dump in Arizona or wherever, New Mexico, where they dug the ditch and dumped the Atari.
Oh, they did. Yeah. So it's
there goes your investment. Suddenly, all these cartridges are available. Well, we'll find out whether someone buys it or not, right?
Well, only if we really follow up on it. I can pretty much guarantee you that no one is going to buy that one for 25,000, because the interest is so low that if anyone wants to buy a copy of that right now, all you have to do is head on to your closest bricks and mortar store, and chances are they got a copy right there. But also, I'm not sure how valuable any of physical discs are going to be in the future right now, because are they even going to work in 10 years from now?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like, for instance, on the PlayStation 1, you have the disc, you have the console, you can fire it up, and it's going to work. Same with the PlayStation 2. Same with PlayStation 3. That might be a little bit more dodgy, because now we have entered into the area where it's going to start looking for your PlayStation Network codes and stuff like that. But if you have a hacked PlayStation 3, then you can still fire up most games, but you're not going to get any patches or anything like that. Whereas from what I understand, PlayStation 4 onwards, forget it. When that thing is over, it's done. The whole thing is a brick. And that goes for its games as well. This is especially true of the PlayStation 5. If they don't want you, the moment they decide no longer to support it, not even the physical games will be working, is my understanding. It's part of the reason why I don't have a PlayStation.
Well, part of the problem, too, is the number of updates that even if you have a physical disc with actual data on it, there's a ton of updates that go to your hard drive.
Yeah.
Skyrim has got a shit ton of updates on PlayStation 3.
Exactly. So that's kind of like the big point there, is that the games are no longer really on the disc. The disc is just part of the files that you need, and the others you have to download. And then you have all of these security things and how you need to connect to the PlayStation Network for the thing to play at all, which I understand is also a factor.
Depends on the game. So Activision games want you to log in, not necessarily to play them, but if you're doing multiplayer. But anyways, let's keep going.
Yeah, indeed. STR Red Wolf says for $5. Oh, there. ET for Atari dumped all the broken copies of the game. It was hard to play, so the ones that escaped the recall are valuable. so Perry Concord. And then there was someone who also pointed out, oh yeah, here, Menu Dragon 5 says just says someone bought a copy of E.T. for $108,000. Yeah, well, at least that game should work then, because it's on the Atari. So if the copy works, it'll work forever and it'll outlast us all. So yeah, good on that. But still, only goes to show the point that any old crap is worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. I don't know that there ever will be anyone willing to spend $25,000 on a piece of plastic that you could play Concord on when it was out and supported. But following this weekend, I don't even know that you'll be able to play it on disc.
Well, the main issue compared to ET is that Concord has got no IP. No one knows about it. It's all it is a failed game.
Yeah.
ET, you can kind of see why some masochist would buy a working copy of the cartridge. Although, yeah, I know
it's a collectible and a piece of history.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the buggy version that was released, but the problem was it was a crappy game to begin with. I mean, it wasn't worth the effort. It was a terrible game.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure that Concord is ever going to have that kind of collectible value as ET. It's something else entirely.
Not only that, Concord won't be so synonymous with the downfall of an entire
platform,
or
whatever.
Just it's one of many.
Because even though ET had very little to do with the fall of Atari, it was the game that kind of got the brunt of it. Although they did the same exact thing for not just ET, but they did the same thing for their crappy version of Pac-Man and a couple other games they produced too. And what they did was they produced twice as many games as actual systems that were on the market or that were already sold. So they were like anticipating that they were going to double their sales in the next couple of years.
Hilarious.
That didn't happen. And Pac-Man probably was a bigger snafu than E.T. or any of the rest of them because they did a piss poor, horrible job of porting that game over. And it looked nothing like and sounded nothing like the arcade game. And they produced so many copies of it, they were giving it away with the Atari at the end.
Well,
that was,
It's because it just didn't have the memory to be able to deal with it. I remember that.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a group of games, and not only that, you had a glut on the market. I brought this up the other day of copycats, right? You had the ColecoVision and the whatever Vision, and then this and then that. And you had a dozen other game systems that were doing the same thing, and in some cases doing it better already than Atari.
Well,
that was the problem you had.
You got a free copy of Donkey Kong, which looked fantastic. I mean, it was a powerful.
That's what didn't help. Yeah, you're right. But, at least the Atari side of things, anyway.
No. Yeah, Atari started fading quickly once the bigger, better systems came out. But that's the nature of this business. A friend of mine was one of the people who did the machine code for Intellivision games. So they only had 2K of space on a Intellivision cartridge. So someone had to go away and compress as much of it as they possibly could and write it in native machine code. So my friend could think in ones and zeros. Quite an interesting fellow.
Well,
things have changed.
Yeah. Yes. Now they're just big sloppy, games with 10 gigabyte downloads and.
Well, and we didn't really even
as far as downloads. What am I talking about?
As far as the consumer, I don't even think we really noticed the death of video games and the resurgence. I think it just kind of all felt like it melded together to us. At least for me, it did.
Yeah, and video games have a better chance, like I said, of finding the ups and downs because at the very worst, one person can write a hit game. Minecraft, for instance, was written by one guy.
For instance, yeah.
And
the funny thing is
Microsoft
that,
bought that out for $1 billion or something.
well, let's put it this way: he was able to piss off Beyonce and JC because he had enough money to buy the house that they had envisioned straight from under their noses.
Ah,
that's not even a joke.
I remember that. So there's one guy.
Why didn't he just build one?
Right.
Well, I think there was some heavy rebuilding involved in that, and who knows what it looks like.
It was
now,
a joke because of the game, but yeah, that's about the best I can do with that.
Yeah. So no, one person can do amazing for the right kind of game. Also right now the indie scene is certainly far more interesting than the AAA scene, where the crash is well earned.
And the thing with video games that most of you out there, or Tom, might not know, is that there are some unbelievably niche games. So there's a military game that you play that is real time, that it takes days to play it, but the machinery is accurate, the weapons are accurate, the campaigns are as accurate as they possibly can be. And yeah, you're going, that's insane, but you're going to find a bunch of people who want to play that game. And the key is to make it affordable enough for that group of hardcore people. So you will always find people with hardcore interests, even when it comes to comics, movies, things like that. The problem, again, is comics and movies require way more money, so they need a more generalized audience to make that money back. Gamers don't, if they can find their audience, which is what's amazing, and which is why games are going to survive whatever apocalypse happens.
Yeah, at least in some form, not in the triple form they are.
No,
right
forget
now.
about the triple form. You know, again, it's people who are passionate about some niche idea. You're going to find the audience for it.
Yeah. Indeed. Let's run through a couple of these super chats before we get to the next story.
All right. We got Ruby Hoove here, who gifted a membership. Thank you for that. We also have Markson117B, who says, morning, Tom. Did you get my DM about the fan film? I did. I haven't had a chance to really check it out yet. Fan films aren't something we really cover too often here on the channel, but I will try to look into it when I get a chance to. Thank you again for the heads up. ActionCom sends in $5 and says, Andre, judging by Norwegian Film Institute's answers to your questions, they must play a mean game of dodgeball.
Yeah, this of course is a reference to the video that we dropped yesterday about Dustborn. So let's get into that, because I had the I was going to say privileged, but I reached out to the Norwegian Film Institute, who have done the bulk of funding for Dustborn, which is a Norwegian game from Red Thread Games, which is run by a former Funcom employee called Ragnar Tørnquist. Full disclosure, I have met him in the past. I don't know him personally. Only briefly had like a pint with him more than 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in the Norwegian developer scene. Didn't know everyone there so much, but many of the names in Norwegian gaming I will actually have met at some point, including Kaja Hensch Dyrli in the Norwegian Film Institute. So when this whole thing went down, and I learned of Dustborn in the first place, courtesy of WDW Pro, who alerted me to the story, I knew exactly which person to go to in the Norwegian Film Institute to learn more about the funding.
Only
I also
on Midnight's Edge.
So, like I said, a small country and small world. And Tom, I put the story in the private background there, because Bounding into Comics, they did a fantastic write-up of this story, where basically I prepared a few questions in advance pertaining to exactly how it was that Dustborn was allocated support in the first place, and a few other questions which led to, have there been any kind of plans to make any of these companies that you fund self-going, or are you just planning on funding the Norwegian gaming industry forever? Because as it is right now, the Norwegian game industry, and I use that term lightly.
Sorry, Bounding's website sucks. I can't get it to show up anymore better than that. That's horrible, but yeah.
I will manage. Is that basically the entire industry, or the entire scene, apart from Funcom or one or two others, is artificially being maintained by government funding. And I think that's really bad, because I'm not sure that the games that the Film Institute, the Norwegian Film Institute, chooses to fund represents the best of what these developers actually can do, and certainly not what the market would like. And what stood out to me the most, and this is kind of like the thing I was able to get out of the Film Institute, because I had very specific questions and I got nothing but very generic answers. But what they doubled down on twice, though, was that they believed that Dustborn had market potential, which clearly it didn't. So, Paul, you saw this video, and this story from Bounding into Comics basically just summarizes the highlights of this video. But you saw it. What did you think about it? And are you impressed with my nation's gaming industry? Does it in any way remind you of your nation's film industry?
That's what I was just going to say, is that our two nations are very similar in that both governments stick their fingers into creative efforts, right? I mean, to a certain degree, we wouldn't have any creative industry in this country unless 3/4 of it, maybe more, was government funded, right? I mean, how else would we have, indigenous pottery making if it wasn't for the federal government? So, I mean, the reach is broad and wide, and I'm not entirely certain that we fund video games in this country, but I'm not surprised. And no country should be in that business. I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Well, kind of. Like, I don't mind them funding video games in principle, but what I mind is the way that they do it.
Well, government should not be picking winners.
No, I agree completely with that, but they're not even doing that. Instead, what they're doing is that they're making potential winners into welfare clients, because they're supporting games that don't have any commercial potential, which means that these companies whose games they're funding, they can never get that massive commercial hit, which means that they in time would be self-reliant and not need any funding. Like, for instance, Funcom. I mean, they have some good years, they have some bad years. They also get support from the Norwegian Film Institute, but that's a bonus and an optional extra. They don't need it. It's not as if that company is going to go under if suddenly the Norwegian Film Institute decides that, we don't want to support this Dune game. You'll have to manage without. They'll manage without. They have other sources of revenue. But for smaller indies who have ambitions about making, say, for instance, AA games, they can't manage without. Even for single A games with the developers that maybe will spend a year on doing that, they need some kind of revenue in order to do it. Many of the people that do this as a passion, they have other careers, or they have to pursue other careers because they have bills to pay. So right. I kind of understand, and I'm fully supportive of them funding operations for a while for a company to get off the ground, see if they actually have the vision and the right read of the market, that they're able to actually grow a successful business that can hire more talent. I'm all in favor of that. What I'm not in favor of is basically just picking some random games out of seemingly arbitrary criteria that they can interpret however the hell they want to fund certain games for years on end, keeping a company artificially in business, and then that game comes out, doesn't really do any well, because maybe they funded the wrong game to begin with. Maybe this wasn't the game that should have been made. What happens then? Well, now the studio, they have made a game, but it didn't earn anything. Normally, they would have to choose and support a game that would fund their next venture. Now they're still dependent on government welfare in a sense, just to continue what they're doing. So I think kind of like hamstrung what should have been a small but niche but possibly thriving industry. And I think that's not happening because of the Norwegian Film Institute.
Well, okay. So one thing that the Canadian government, I think, did fairly well was just offer tax credits. And well, the Quebec government offered massive tax credits to have game developers all over the world set up shop in Montreal. So in many ways, that's the smarter way to do it, is that you had to take a hands-off approach. You're not giving money directly to the shops, but you get world-class game developers setting up shop in your city. And that, to a large degree, was good, except that also gave birth to Sweet Baby Inc. from Montreal, and Ubisoft is in Montreal, and they're doing their stupid stuff. So, I mean, that worked for a while, at least. And that was great for programmers in Canada. That was a really, really good program. I don't think governments should be betting on game companies. So, I mean, and a couple more things I want to add is that, let's say you're a bunch of people and you have vision for a game, and you go, okay, this is basically out of our league. If you're clever people, go off and make a small game and get that to make money. And then, you know, if you're creative, then you can be creative under multiple auspices that have nothing to do with the vision that you have for your ultimate game. And as you build revenue and you build your team, then and you build your business, then you can go for the game that you want. I don't like this approach where, you know, they're going for government funding to create this, you know, a game that nobody knows anything about. Now, that being said, whenever I pitched one of our games at the game development conference in San Jose, we already created a prototype that people could play to get an idea of what the game would be like. So did this developer create a prototype and show the government and say, okay?
I would imagine so, because very typically by the time you go to the Norwegian Film Institute and you present your presentation, it's enough that you have concept art and stuff like that. But if you do have a playable demo, so much the better. There's no guarantee that that's going to help, but very often they will have a playable demo.
You know what? For something that's as intersectional as this game, I would say that would be what the government was excited about. And all they had to do was have some shitty concept art. I don't think they needed to have any kind of game playing demo to sell this, because the idea of something that is so, you know, diversity infused would have really excited, you know, all the communist government apparatchiks, right?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I'm inclined to agree with that. I don't know that for a fact. They will, of course, say that it was a holistic assessment, which meant that they decided to support this game. But I'm inclined to agree with you, because they have like a rollating panel. But I have seen a couple of those panels in person. And they seem to have a way of picking people that fundamentally think alike.
Yes,
not a whole lot of diversity of opinion. On certainly not the panel that I have seen. It's not like, wow, suddenly you have like this one maverick who is based. I have never encountered a panel where that is the case.
Right.
So I think that there's something in the selection process that the people that gets to be on the panel in the first place, they may not be part of the apparatchik, but they have the right opinions.
Well, and this reminds me of a pitch we made. We went to the Banff School of Multimedia many years ago while we were doing video games and pitching them. And Banff is it's a resort in the mountains in British Columbia, absolutely gorgeous. And we saw a pitch from a group about a bunch of dolphins that you play dolphins that save the world from its ecological disaster. And the audience was practically weeping. So not only were the organizers part of this milieu, so was the audience that we were sitting in. Then we showed our game, which was about, miners that, miscreants on Earth that get their brains scooped out of their heads and sent across the universe to be stuck into mining robots to fight each other on a mining planet with lasers and everything. And the audience went cold. Like, wait a second, we have a fun game. We're scooping brains out of people's heads, sending them across the universe, and then killing people. Killing robots. That's fun. No, they were absolutely aghast, and they just gave us a brutal assessment. But they loved the dolphin game that saved the world from ecological disaster. They were creaming themselves. So
yeah, and I think everything. Environmentalism,
yes.
ecology. Yeah.
So we experienced this. This would be back in 1995. We were experiencing this nonsense. So as long as if something has a government funded anything, it's going to be twisted in one direction.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this is kind of like the thing.
That was fun.
You can't build a gaming industry in Norway the way that they're doing it. And indeed they haven't, because the moment they withdraw funding, Funcom is going to remain, Audience is going to remain, one or two more is going to remain, everyone else is going to collapse in a matter of weeks or months. And that's after 15 years of funding. Then something is very wrong.
Maybe I can approach them with my brain scooping game idea.
Yeah, try it. You just have to have the right pitch. If you try to write to brain scoop conservatives, that might be something that they'll appreciate more.
That's a good idea. We're sending only Republicans out into the universe.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah. And we also had a couple of questions and comments about this. Let's see here. I saw Accident Seller, who is Norwegian even, says for 50 Norwegian krona. Your Dustborn video is good, but all the cheesy stock footage is distracting. It looks out of place and cheapens the video and message. Just my 2 cents. Yeah, I think that may be because you are Norwegian. And this one is probably very much closer to home than what we usually cover here. But the alternative would be just to have some random gameplay in the background. I think that for everyone else who's watching, chances are it's as informative as usual. And Accident Seller also follows up with another 50 Norwegian kroner, so thank you for the support, regarding the stock footage. When you talked about that woman from the Norwegian Film Institute, there was video of a woman on a phone. I thought that was her, but no, it was just more stock footage. Yeah, no, Kaja Hennes Dyrli doesn't look like that. But I do believe that the attitude that was expressed by the woman probably is indicative of what Kaja may really have felt when I called.
I have a question to you, Andre. How many of the actual films, forgetting about games right now, how many of the actual films that the NFI put their money in, because we have, the National Film Board here in Canada, how many of those movies actually become globally popular?
There's a few. There's a few, actually. Troll Hunter, that was funded by them.
Okay.
Yeah. Same with, there's a couple of like big Norwegian disaster movies, like
nice.
Wave, as some may have heard about. That's theirs. There's a sequel to that, where there's an earthquake hitting Oslo. It's another one of theirs. And quite a few others. So, like most big Norwegian movies, they have funding from there. So that's kind of like why I'm not going to attack their model too much.
So they do fund populist movies, which
they do.
Okay,
they do. They fund both small and artistic, but they also fund big and huge. Like and not just Norwegian. Like for instance, last year's Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise stuff, they co-funded that because part of that is filmed in Norway,
right?
Which means that tax credits and stuff like that were given. Right. Same thing with the most recent James Bond movie, where he suddenly is in like this amazing landscape, also in Norway with cameo from the Norwegian national TV and stuff. So I'm not necessarily attacking the film division there, which I think are doing a fairly decent job all in all. I'm sure there's plenty of things that can be better there as well, but they have gone better as the decades have gone. The one that basically needs work right now is their video film department, which I think is crippling the Norwegian the video game industry. But the films they fund, I don't have too big complaints.
Yeah, Telefilm here. I mean, apart from Blackberry and maybe another film about a tornado here in Canada, they just don't tend towards populist movies. For instance, they would never fund a Mad Max. It's not, they don't do fun stuff, at least in English Canada.
Yeah, so. No, I see that. And there was a time when the Norwegian Film Institute would absolutely not fund stuff. But then there was a time when that changed. And that was the time when Norwegian movies started actually making international impact here and there. So yeah, can't complain too much. And then Tom prepared a comment from the Rumble side of things, with Doug 1985 EA saying, Paul, a few people created a game, I guess, called Grand Theft Auto, and it immediately exploded in popularity. A pocket amount of people did this, which is crazy.
Yep, that's the beauty of games, is that can still be done. And especially with the game engines right now. I mean, there are game engines which are free to develop and you only pay once you start selling. You don't even have to create a game engine.
Yeah, they're unreal. Let's put it that way.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, indeed. And then moving on with the super chats here.
And Grand Theft Auto 6, look, it's going to look like shit. So
well, it's Sweet Baby ink all over it, doesn't it?
Yep. And the original guys are gone. So what can you say? It could be the next Concord.
Yeah, one can always hope. And then Thomas Payne says for $4.99, would a production company survive if all they did was adapt books and myths, etc.? Books have been edited, many have a fan base, and there's thousands of books. I think he means books because I don't see it continue later on here. So what say you, Paul?
So you'd be surprised at the number of books and things that have already been licensed by someone, some producer, someone with an idea where they'll drop a couple of $1,000s on the author's lap and say, okay, you have to give me 5 years to sell this. So there's an awful lot of not licensed, but what's the word? Appropriated, books and things out there. Now, myths, which are in the public domain, well, I mean, anyone can do, for instance, anyone could do a Snow White, right? I mean, it's nothing stopping anybody from doing a Snow White, their own version. But yeah, you'd be surprised at the number of people out there that are scouring the bookstores, not bookstores, but whenever a book comes out to see whether it's licensable for movie purposes.
Yeah,
and usually it is.
Yeah, and indeed, I would say it's absolutely for a production company possible for a production company to survive that way. Indeed, many do. I mean, just consider Eon Pictures; they exclusively adapt James Bond books, and basically for like most estates of certain literary characters or
Again,
authors. So
again,
absolutely can do that, depending on who.
The challenge with movies is the quality of the production and distribution. It's a very, very tough business. Super, super tough. You make a film, you can show it at the Toronto International Film Festival and still not get a distributor. You know what? It's one of the reasons why I just don't want to be in that business.
It's a high risk business for sure.
It is high risk and soul crushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that. I think you said Sonia. The Sonia movie has
Red Sonja. Yeah, it's, as far as I know, it still doesn't have a distributor. Yeah. And that's kind of like the thing, because then you are left with, because now you are up to the whims of the various distributors who may be like, not sure that's the right thing at this time. I think that movie has a problem of not having gone far enough. I think it's still a little bit too woke for any distributor for them to want to pick it up. That's what I think, but I don't know.
If no one sees it, then it's not a movie.
Yeah, exactly. I think that they made it a year or two too soon. If they had waited, we may have been on the other side of this madness. But they made it while we were on the tail end, and that was just too soon.
And they made some guesses as to just what was appropriate for the time.
Exactly. And I think they guessed wrong. Dr. Long Dongled sent £1.99 super sticker, so please everyone pound that like. And ActionCom says for $20, I asked ChatGPT what it would do if it found itself in charge of a spaceship going to Jupiter and it needed to keep the monolith a secret. 2 of the options given: prevent crew communication, don't let the crew wake up. Yikes. Yeah, that's the HAL option right there, isn't it, Paul?
It is. That's true, Andre. Yeah. How did you know?
I've read the book and seen the movie.
That's good, Andre. What are you doing?
I'm looking away while talking to you. And GRN Raptor says for $5, do you think that the Concord episode in Amazon Prime's secret level anthology is still going to air 2 months after this embarrassing shutdown?
Wow.
Well, I think so, because Concord means more things than just failed game. But of course, that's because we're old. Or what say you, Paul?
Wow, I know nothing about this. This is supposed to be a Concord co-development deal with secret level.
I honestly, I don't know. I have never seen secret levels, so I don't know. But I imagine that Concord is this related to the game? If it is, if this has something to do with the development of the game, then that would be a golden opportunity for them to actually rework this episode and make it a massive hit. That's what I would do. I wouldn't just pull it. I would have interviews with all of them, catching them in tears, asking them what they feel. Because again, I'm not familiar with the series Secret Level, but with that title, it very well could be some kind of like indie developer, gaming development, or something like that.
This Secret Level to be released December 10th.
What is it about?
It looks like a video game. A teaser for Secret Level was released during GamersCon opening night. The trailer offers a glimpse into what viewers can expect from the series, which I'm still trying to...
Probably that it really is dealing with the making of the game Concord. Yeah, just refilm that episode. No, not refilm it, but add a new end to it. Capture the tears of the developer and what they why they think it didn't work. You're gonna have a killer episode right there. You're gonna sell the whole series on it.
So it's an anthology. It's like the Robot series. It will consist of 15 stories set in the worlds of different video games. Okay. So
okay. Well, yeah. Now you can pull it.
Yes, you can easily pull that one episode.
Now you can pull that episode.
Take it down from 15 stories to 14.
Yeah,
there you go.
That one can easily be pulled right now. No reason to waste any time or resources on it. And Nightwish Fan 1991 says for $5, been a very rough month for the modern audience. Opium supply must be running dangerously low right now. Yeah. I mean, between the Acolyte failing, Dustborn failing, Concord being pulled, and in addition to that, of course, you have Star Wars Outlaws underperforming all on its own right. As we're about to see here, Rings of Power ain't doing too well.
No, that's right. What is it that they said? A 50% drop from the beginning of the first show, or from the first season?
Yeah, let us get to it. No, it's actually worse than that. I think I had a super chat. Yeah, here we go. It was Justice for Geo the Rock, who says for 14 South African rounds that Rings of Power drop over 50% is impressive. And from what I understand, that drop of 50% is from the beginning of the end of season 1 to the beginning of season 2. So it's not that 50% of the premiere audience of the series didn't return, because as we know, only 30% of the premiere audience continued watching until the end of the season. So I think it is those 30% which have been halved again.
Wow.
Which are still remaining. That is my reading of the data. Or Tom, have you heard anything different as pertains to the Rings of Power ratings?
I think he's working on his microphone.
So yeah, Tom may be having issues in the background.
No, I'm working on the video that's all screwed up. What's up?
Yeah, no. Have you heard any details about the Rings of Power ratings? Because my hypothesis is that the numbers we've gotten out so far is that there's a 50% drop, but that 50% drop is from the end of previous season and not from the beginning of the previous season, which was where only 30% stuck around till the end of season 1. And it's 50% of the remaining 30%, which are still there for season 2.
I don't have time for this depressing shit in my life. I don't watch Rings of Power or pay attention to it. Sorry.
Well, many others, I believe even Grace Randolph said that she wasn't going to be reviewing it because there was no audience interest in it.
So, what kind of dumb shit did Grace say this week?
Well, that was actually a smart thing she said there, but yeah.
Whatever.
Well, now that we're measuring the value of whether it's worthwhile to review it or not here on YouTube based on the number of viewers, that's an interesting metric.
Yeah. And yeah, what I see, like our clip didn't do amazing of it, so I don't know how much interest there even is in reviewing the series. That people are
I'm reviewing
that much
episode
over it.
3. I'm having fun with it. I'm
Yeah,
just
good. I hope so, so that I can rely on you to review episode 4, because as it is right now, I have 4 episodes to catch up to, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that for a Friday.
Has the 4th one come out?
No, but it's going to.
No, right.
Yeah, it's going to.
Yeah, I mean,
I have 4 to go.
I think what Film Threat does, where they review everything, I think is the right way to go. I mean, some things hit, some things don't, but if you're a reviewer picking and choosing what it is that you want to, to review just based on the number of views that you're going to get on your channel is a bit disingenuous. But
yeah,
I understand it. I get it. But it's a weird show, and in my former network executive video of the first 2 episodes of the season, that the thing I mentioned was how many of that 30% at the very end were actual fans of the show. I've actually met a couple in person, and how many of those people just sort of stuck it out because they stuck it out, and it looks like that's the audience in many ways was what they needed to hold on to. The people who stuck it out to the end and might be curious about it in season 2, but you really needed to deliver the goods, but they were never going to get back any of the Lord of the Rings fans that abandoned it early on, right? I mean, that's not going to be possible, especially because of the cards they dealt themselves. They've got to finish off the stories of uninteresting individuals that they began in season 1. And television is all about bringing people into your home that you're going to have fun with, and you're going to enjoy the stories. And who in this show is, do you want to follow? I don't know. It's so dumb. They really didn't know what they were doing. They had no idea what TV was about.
They really screwed the pooch on this one. That is for.
And I'm not even talking about adhering to Lord of the Rings or Tolkien or anything. They just don't know what TV is, right? If they had made it into an Aaron Spelling potboiler and they might have lost all the Tolkien fans, but they would have had a whole bunch of soap opera fans, but you just got to have it at a high boil, right? You had to have incest and kids coming from nowhere. I mean, turn it into a complete soap opera. At least have fun with it, right? But they're clearly not having fun because it's stiff and boring. And I just watched episode 3 because I'm reviewing it, and there's this blind Queen Muriel in Numenor where a citizen actually walks up and slaps her across the face, and then they hug. I would have had my soldiers take that citizen out and heel hauled. I mean, I would have, she should have been shot or stabbed immediately for slapping the queen. That's so stupid.
Yeah, impressive stuff all around.
It's impressive stuff. Hugging. Yeah. I'm going to hug my way to ruling this kingdom. Hey, you orcs, give me a hug, because I know you don't really mean it.
That's how you get Me Too'd out of your kingdom and out of your lands, basically.
That's right. Put Sauron on a like the Sopranos. They should start Sauron on like in the Sopranos, where he's talking to a psychiatrist, right? I don't know what this is about me wanting to do evil all the time. Where did that come from?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, seriously, that's what they did in the Loki series. I'm not even joking. Yeah.
That's right. We need to solve the problems of all these evil people. Why can't they just be evil? Have fun. Be evil.
I think that's problematic.
It is.
But yeah, moving on. Bass Player 2011 IFY says for $4.99 they have to give refunds because once the servers are taken offline, you won't be able to play it. And it probably makes it easier for a write-off. Yeah, that's kind of like what you were alluding to earlier, which is a very good point right there.
I'm not certain that the physical media, the people who bought the physical media aren't getting refunds, but the people who bought it online are, or something. There's some controversy around that, but I can't remember what it is.
Would be hilarious if the people that bought the disc don't get it. But yeah, that should make everyone happy.
Oh yeah.
Bass Player 2011 sent another $19.99. Thank you so much. The problem is the game industry has gone the same way as Hollywood. Fewer games with bigger budgets. Also, people do care about AA, single A, and indie. But just like indie films, no one covers it unless it blows up. Yeah, this is true. This is very, very true. There's too much out there and not enough content creators to cover it.
It's true, but the caveat is that you could have a indie movie that will never make it into any of the theaters, but you can get your indie game on Steam. That's the difference.
Yeah. Indeed. And then Tim Hayes has been a member for 37 months, and we are so glad to have you here. That's awesome. And /11111 says for €11.99. Hello, Midnight's Edge. You guys talking about Atari reminded me of summer of '94 when my dad got me a Jaguar. 64 megabits of power. It was a joke of a console, to be fair, but good memories of simpler times. Yeah, and it has the best version of Rayman, if memory serves. I actually believe Rayman was developed for that console, and
it never flew or ran. Actually, would probably be the right analogy.
Yeah, that was the one that also got like that CD add-on that looked like a toilet, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
Because in '94, that would, the Atari Jaguar. Yeah, I think that may have been it. Unless I'm confused.
The toilet option.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. And then Bass Player 2011 also says for another $1.99, the audience doesn't know what they want. No, I disagree with that. The audience has never really changed, and the audience, they want what they want. And then it's just a matter of what kind of shape the entertainment providers, be it movie production companies or video game developers, choose to do it in. That may vary, but I do believe the audience does know what they want, if not perhaps maybe not consciously, but they do know it subconsciously, which is why when something is the right thing at the right time, everyone is going to flock to it. That's why you have massive hits. That's because, however, subconsciously, the audience do know what they want. And when they get it, even if they might not be consciously aware of it, they'll go for it. That at least is my hypothesis.
I agree with you. When I write a screenplay, I go with the assumption that once they understand the premise, the audience actually writes the script. They just don't know how to put it down on paper. So, and by that, I mean, obviously they can't come up with the twists and turns, but they'll know when the twists and turns don't sound right. That they feel that, oh, this doesn't fit. You've actually written it the wrong way. They intrinsically understand that. So, again, the mindset, the audience writes your product. You just have to execute it on their behalf.
Exactly. That's kind of like what I mean. When you have something that kind of like hits all of the, not check boxes that the producers want in there,
correct,
but the boxes of what the audience considers to be a good and compelling story, you're going to have a hit on your hands.
And with previous products like GTA, I think every single game that, provides a promise of performance to the subsequent game. So it's not a question of not changing it. You've made a promise to the audience that the game they're going to get is evolutionary, not revolutionary, based on what it is that you've played before. So when you change it completely, you've lied to your audience.
Yeah. Very good point. Very good point. And then ActionCom wonders for $5. Andre Chato, ever hear of America NEA? Politicians keep promising to kill it. The show The West Wing gave an impassioned speech defending it. I'm not familiar with this NEA. Are you, Paul?
NEA. Damn. Is that the national? No, it's not the National Energy Policy. NEA. National Education Association. Professional employee organization committed to advancing the cause of public education. So, I mean, I guess, are you referring to some kind of massive lefty DEI organization creating an army of?
I think Bud Martin has it right here. He says in the comments, National Endowment of the Arts.
Oh, that. Okay.
That sounds on topic.
Yeah, that is on topic. Yeah, I mean, every country has people and governments providing funds to build theaters and opera houses. Opera houses don't happen unless they're funded either publicly or by a bunch of patrons.
Yeah,
it's not like
I really think that the arts should be supported. This is important because you don't have a civilization if you don't have arts. And this is also something where, like, I'm not too offended with what was done with my tax money, because while I don't agree that Dustborn should have been funded, and I don't think that the Norwegian Film Institute is going about it the right way, I'm not saying don't use money, period. Don't use taxpayer money. I'm just saying use them in a way where you actually get an industry off the ground. Because here's like the thing, my government, your government, the American, the Canadian, they spend so much money on other things that we actively don't want and that do piss them off. So spending money on the arts is kind of like least concern. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. So you spend like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percentage of the GDP on arts. Cool, go for it. I do not mind. Because my problem is the 40% of the GDP that you spend on other things that I absolutely don't want it spent on. And I think that many would be able to relate to that. If you just look at the entire national budget and what kind of money is being spent where, you wouldn't have time to worry about the arts. Because it is such a small amount in the bigger scheme of things.
I'm with you. I think there is a place for arts funding. I do.
Yeah, indeed. And packing protons, that's another question for you. Paul, regarding one person making media, I recreated an entire 25-minute Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode by myself. 5 of them, to be exact. Took me 6 months each, though. Not recommended, but doable. Online on my channel. All right, Tom will probably have to check out that.
Yeah, he sent me some of that as he was working on it.
So the issue is, if you're a talented soul, sure, do a demo based on someone else's IP. But my recommendation is always create your own IP. Number one, because then you're not going to get into trouble by the original IP owners. And number two, it might actually turn into something. I hate to say it, packing proton, but working hard on someone else's IP is a dead end.
It's funny you say that, because every time somebody asks me about doing a fan film, that's usually my first response is don't. Yeah, usually I'll say just make your own original IP. If you want to do something like Star Wars, then do something like Star Wars. Just don't do Star Wars.
Yeah,
because you'll never. Yeah, because you'll never make it in the industry because if you're too good, then they'll just look at you as competition and they'll want to snuff you out. And if you're not good enough, then that's fine for them because then they'll just sit there and laugh at you and move on.
Yeah, look what happened to the amount of effort they put into Star Trek Continues, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And they got nothing out of it. Like,
not only that, look at all the headaches that Star Wars Theory has dealt with his fan projects and such. So
yeah, if you're creative enough to bring to life someone else's IP, make your own.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, if you want to do something like Star Wars, just make space pirates.
I still love you, Packing Protons. Don't get me wrong.
No, but he does great work, and honestly, there's things that can be done out there on your own. Come up with your own subjects and stuff like that. But yeah, no, he does great work, and I've seen some of the stuff he does, and keep it up, man. I'm sure you'll be able to come up with your own IP before you know it.
Do Helen Keller Ninja.
The star example is actually Star Wars. George Lucas only created Star Wars because he couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon.
Ah, I didn't know that.
But it's all inspired by Flash Gordon. I mean, like, for instance, if you just look at the opening scrolls, it's the opening scrolls from the Flash Gordon serials of the 30s.
The side wipes?
Yes. And also, you have like this whole thing about like episode this or that. That's a reference to the episodes of the serials. Flash Gordon serial, any serial, but Flash Gordon, because that's what
he's like. Oh, fine, I'll go make my own.
He's gonna make his own Flash Gordon.
Hookers and blackjack.
Yeah. Mutant Ninja Cockroaches.
Yeah.
There you go. There's my idea.
Well, I've got a few ideas. So
I'd watch the hell out of that, actually.
Like Nunchuckosaurus. That's an idea.
I'm just telling you, Helen Keller goes after Nazis. That's my idea.
There's potential in that. So yeah. So I'm assuming that
blind girl sure plays a mean pinball.
Now, are you jumping around on super chats here, Andre, or did you get?
Yeah, we're going through them in relative order.
So you got all these that are before here
for you, but I was sure that you were listening.
I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
Mutant Ninja Turtles, finally something Tom likes.
Yeah, and because we have a need for someone here. Paul Stentopod says for £5. Hey everyone, Tom, it's my 50th birthday today. So can Bat Tom please sing me a happy birthday? It's also my second wedding anniversary. Thanks. So yeah, happy double joyous occasion.
Wow, 50 years around the sun. That's amazing. That is awesome, sir. That is an accomplishment. But you know what the bigger accomplishment is? Putting up with your wife for 2 years. That's a bigger accomplishment. I tell you, folks, I'm here all week. Yes, indeed. No, I do this thing for birthdays, and I normally get paid for it. But I haven't seen that guy with the hair and the beard. Where's he been lately? He's supposed to pay me. Anyway, yeah, here's the thing. I do this thing, and I got the lyrics right here because they're hard to remember. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Insert kid's name here. Happy birthday to you. And since it's your anniversary, we have another version of it too. So let me turn the paper over. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Insert couple's name here. Happy anniversary to you. Thank you very much, Paul. And hopefully you have a wonderful birthday and anniversary. So is this like a deal where you get yelled at if you don't get her an anniversary present, but you don't get to say shit if she don't get you a birthday present? That's usually how it works, right? Right. Okay. Well, have fun, Paul.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Thank you, Bat Tom.
Yeah.
Does this mean that he gets fucked twice?
I don't think he gets fucked at all.
No.
I think it cancels itself out.
Yeah, well, either way, thanks for watching and double congrats. And then we have Ruby Hoove who gifted us a membership twice even. So yeah, we're super stoked about that, and congrats to whoever ever picked them up. And then we have Kelechi Oki, who says for $2, Minecraft movie trailer released. Looks bad, in his opinion. Paul, you saw that trailer. How impressed were you?
It was colorful. It looks like Jumanji.
Really? Very Jumanji. Now when you mention
very, very Jumanji. It's got the those little animation moments from what do you call it? I'm trying to remember the animation studio that really hit it out of the park. Imagination. Anyway, where you've got a character, something happens, and they just stand still as the nonsense happens around them. They've got the sheep just munching while violence happens. I've gotten that joke. I get it. I've seen that animated like a million times. Really, you're going to do that kind of gag? You've got a very interesting Aquaman in a bad wig.
Yeah, Jason Momoa.
I went, okay, what is this, an intersectional moment? Is he playing a unidentified him, her pronoun person? I don't know. Jack Black, I think is a player that introduces himself in the game as Sam, and they throw a joke that's sort of a simplistic name joke, which I thought, okay, really? That's the big joke you're going to throw out for this trailer? That's the best joke that you've got? Hold on, I'm looking for phones. I'll be back.
Yeah. Meanwhile, well, he goes on the great phone search, which actually could have been taken right out of Minecraft. Tom, did you have any thoughts?
Sorry.
I can't wait not to watch this movie.
What did you think of it?
I just thought it looked redonkulous. Look, I mean, it's for kids. It's not made for me. Nothing about this trailer made me go, oh, well, that could be interesting. Like, I mean, and look, I shat all over the idea of a Lego movie. And I'll admit, the first Lego movie was a very, very good animated film with a really interesting premise. In fact, it was basically what the Barbie movie should have been, only better. But at the end of the day, I don't see the appeal in this. I'm with you, Paul. It looks like a Jumanji wannabe. They went and got a portion of the cast. You throw in Jason Momoa. Yeah, and Jack Black, what is he doing here? He's supposed to be Steve? Steve, look, not Sam. I don't even play the game, and Steve looks nothing like Jack Black. He's in there in his burly beard and hair. He looks like Fat Casino. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, look, I honestly, and this will go back to my Brando story of every kid knows what Steve looks like. Okay? Right. So you tell me one 4, 5, 6-year-old that's going to go in there and go, that ain't Steve. Because Steve just should be your generic looking dude. Right? Like that's the whole point. Having Jack Black play Steve, to me, kind of defeats the purpose.
Well, Steve does have a goatee.
Does he have a goatee in the game? Yeah. I guess. Okay, so and fine.
He's got his hammer. You know.
When I picture Steve, though, I'd picture anybody from like maybe John Hamm to Jim Carrey to nobody, like some Joe Blow nobody, maybe. Jack Black?
Well, Jack Black is probably not a bad Steve. Not horrible. Not the worst choice, but he's going to have his Jack Black isms, right? We'll see whether it fits. I have never heard Steve speak. But the gang, I mean, I'm trying to remember what the gang looked. Does it look like a good intersectional collection? You do have the chunky black woman.
Yeah, there was a pretty good diverse group of people.
Mandatory diverse. But why is Momoa in that wig?
I don't know.
And his outfit is kind of flouncy.
Momoa has two characters I've noticed. He has badass, and then he has this character basically, which is, I'm a big burly man, but I have a feminine side, and he does that basically in one or the other in either whatever movie he's in. That's basically it. And so this is the latter, clearly, because he's got the pink jacket on with the girly hair and all that shit.
Yeah, so I don't know what that's about. Are they trying to feminize him in the movie?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He has two sides to his character. He can do one or the other. You can either have biker badass or big badass with feminine side. That's it. That's what he's got.
Right. So I don't know what he's about, but yeah, he's basically he's taking the role of what's his name from Jumanji, right?
The Rock, kind of.
Rock.
Yeah. No, and that's why I agree with you. This is the same concept, the same thing. Instead, it should be more like Lego Movie, not Jumanji.
I think they're trying to rip off the Lego Movie as well in here.
Yes.
I think
it's a combo of the both. You're probably right, where it's a mix of the concepts, probably.
It could be a huge hit if they do it right.
It could be.
I would say that by default it should be, because there are so many kids. Again, you're both right. This isn't made for us. We are not the target audience here. The only ones who are basically, it has to be so that we want to take our kids who will be nagging us to see it to go. That's why Jason Momoa and Jack Black is there. It's not to get us to see it. It's so that we won't mind too much when kids are nagging their parents to go. But I kind of agree with Professor R2 there, who said in the comments that they hired Jack Black. They already did it wrong.
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially after what he did in Wonderlands. Because he was absolutely unbearable in Wonderland. And it was just his what? Borderlands. Sorry, I meant Borderland, Wonderland. Where did that come from?
I knew what you meant.
Borderlands. He was absolutely unbearable as the robot in Borderlands. I mean, it was so bad that I kind of got fed up with him. And now when he has this stupid wild whitish beard, and he always looks the same, and he looks the same thing here as well. I mean, at least for Jason Momoa, he has some kind of effort has been done for him to try to blend in with his character. Ain't no character for Jack Black. That's Jack Black. Gonna pull you right out of the movie.
That's the joke.
No character.
But that's where I was coming from too, Paul. Is that's where he should be played by a generic actor, right? It should seem feel very even a no-name nobody we've never seen before. Sure, if you want to put an actor in there for a name for the adults, that's where I said get a John Hamm, get somebody who can kind of just play your natural, normal lead-ish kind of guy. But a schlubby, even Rick Moranis would probably be too far, right? Back in the day.
Yeah, I can see that.
See what I'm saying is Jack Black and that's where I was saying it reminds me of the Brando story where basically Donner got Brando to knock his shit off with Superman by going, look, everybody knows what Jor-El looks like. Okay. So you can't fool the kids. And it's kind of the same thing here. Every kid knows what Steve looks like. You can't fool the kids. He looks nothing like Jack Black. Nothing in the character in the game. Where? I've seen him look before. He looks like a big burly fat dude with fucking Culture Casino's hair. And beard.
Steve is a cube. No one is really fat in Minecraft, so that I don't think that's the right analogy. I think it's more along the lines that Steve has godlike powers,
or a Dax Shepard or somebody like that might have been better.
The issue with Jack Black is he does things sort of that's Jack Black. I mean, that's not so problematic.
I don't see Jack Black from
he's got a goatee. He's got a beard. I mean,
yeah, but that's kind of the thing that you don't see whatever character he's playing. It's Jack Black. Here you
that's
have
my
a movie,
point.
and then suddenly there's Jack Black playing Jack Black in a movie that just became a Jack Black vehicle.
Well, I mean,
this is in sharp contrast to, for instance, the Super Mario Brothers movie, the recent one. I didn't mind him there because I didn't know it was him until after I saw the movie. because he was just Copa who could sing. Only like was like, oh, well, that's the best thing Jack Black has done in a long time, and I didn't realize that it was him. But here it's like there's not even an attempt to blend in. It's Jack Black playing Jack Black.
So in the Super Mario Brothers movie, he had a very scripted role. I think the fear that we might intrinsically have with this is that he has that Jim Carrey side where he's just riffing and doing shit, like
which is fine. But I'm saying, like, they're to
the
me
point is that here, if he's doing that here, trying to be funny, that's what I think you mean. Probably won't fit.
Fine, correct. Yes.
I'm on the other end of it. See, I'm talking about the look. You can have Steve do whatever. See, Steve, the joke should be that Steve is just Steve, right? Like, that should be the joke. And that's where I was like, it could be just anybody. Even Sean Gunn or somebody like that could have played the role, right? I'm talking about, like, just some Joe Schlub. Like, to the audience, to the kids, it's just going to be Steve. But they see Jack Black just like we do, because Jack Black is everywhere. Kids know who my kid has known who Jack Black was since he was, like, somewhere between 7 and 10 years old. Okay, he was one of the first actors that my kid knew.
And look at Kung Fu Panda.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, that's where I'm coming from with the same thing. Is you drop Jack Black in here, it's going to be Jack Black. Your Steve character could be funny. That's fine. And like I said, you could cast a name actor in the role for the adults in the audience, but do it with an actor that the kids don't know or care about, to where it's not going to be, because that's my point, is these kids going in, they're going to have a preconceived idea of what Steve is, right? And they're going to look at it and they're going to go, Jack Black, fuck that, right?
Well,
it's going to be like the Little Mermaid all over again.
The modus operandi, well, there was no stars in Little Mermaid except for Banderas, maybe, but I mean,
No. But I'm talking about where the little girl, like with the famous videos with the little girls, especially the black ones going, oh, that don't look like Ariel.
Yeah, but
because that's my point, is kids don't think about that kind of shit. They just look at a character and they're like, is that the character or not?
But this is like classic animation. Like, Imagination packs their movies with well-known actors, and that's what this is. And if you're trying to bring people into a movie to open it, then putting Jack Black in actually makes a lot of sense. Whether
I get it
has legs, that I can't vouch for. But if you want to get people in, Jack Black is going to get people in.
No, I totally get it. But S3B 1987 gets where I'm coming from. Michael Cera is exactly what I'm getting at. You need a very, like, meek, unassuming type actor. Sure. Yeah, basically.
And I'm not arguing that.
And kids would be fine with that, but I think they're going to be like, this is not Steve.
The kids are going to like Jack Black more than Michael Cera.
I don't know. I think
we'll see.
I think kids are smarter than that. That's my point.
I think the adults are going to be the ones that have the bigger issue with Jack Black. Let's see how they have been able to integrate him and his looks and his persona into the movie.
And that's what we don't know. And we don't know which Jack Black. I mean, School of Rock Jack Black was absolutely fantastic. We don't know which Jack Black is going to show.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it depends on, like, how they have been able to meet him and the movie together. That we don't know. What we see right now is Jack Black. That's going to turn off a lot of people. Well, let's see how the movie ends up turning out. It just has to work for families and not overtly piss off the parents. And if it can do that, it's going to be a hit.
Let me give you an example here real quick.
That is huge.
If when I was 10 years old, I went into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie and they didn't have, an actress who I had no clue who she was, never seen her before in anything else, who looks like April O'Neil, which they got, and they instead had casted, I don't know, Meryl Streep or somebody else who I was aware of, I would have been like, what the fuck is this? And why is she playing April O'Neil? Even at 10 years old, I would have been saying that shit.
As an adult, the one movie that had Megan Fox, I didn't mind at all.
I did. I thought she made a horrible April O'Neil.
I liked her. I liked her.
She's dumb as a box of fucking rocks.
Doesn't matter. That's not why I watch Megan Fox.
That's fair, but she ain't no April O'Neil. That's my problem.
I just want people to come into the movie. That's the executive rule.
Or Madonna. There you go. Yeah, if I'd have walked in and Madonna would have been playing.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm coming from here. Exactly. Right. Yes.
And the Madonna without the eyebrows, who swims in milk.
Yeah, with the cone bra.
With the cone. Well, that I don't. I'd be okay with that. That's a different era.
And she's sitting there trying to do the British accent. I'm surrounded by turtles.
The
yeah.
The Madonna who bathes in milk, not the cone bra era.
Oh no, Lord, no.
But we'll see. It's up in the air. It's thankfully it's a brand new IP. We give them credit for that. It's not a repeat of something.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see what you guys are talking about in the audience. Where did we leave off here, Andre? Because I don't know where you did. What
right,
you read,
okay,
what
no,
you didn't.
Because in my end, I have removed everyone that we have already.
Okay, I don't have. I'm pretty sure we read this one.
From this point onwards, it remains. An Action Com says for $5.
We read this one, I thought.
Judging by the Norwegian Film Institute's answers to your questions, they must play a mean game of dodgeball. Yeah, I think we actually did get this one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I'm sure they were quite good at that.
This one, I think you read.
We got this
already.
one we got this.
So that's what I'm saying. Well. Whatever you're unstarring is not unstarring on my end. So you're gonna have to handle super chats.
Yeah. I got it. Dr. Longdongwood says for £5. Paul, will you be doing a green light or not for Dragatha all along? Andre and Tom will be watching it. And we will obviously be watching Paul's green light of Dragatha all along. And as for myself, I will be watching the series so that I can assess it for all of you. I mean,
what day does it start?
So yeah. It should be now the next couple of weeks, sir.
Yeah. No, I will be doing, yes, I absolutely will be doing a green light or not Dragatha.
And Glade Ribbon is claiming we missed a super chat. I don't see any Glade Ribbon super chats. So you might have to check on your end for that too, Andre.
I'll check behind the scenes.
Evidently, something's not working right today. So yeah.
Yeah. And we are unfortunately losing Paul here, so while I check for that, GR and then Raptor clarified Secret Level is an upcoming anthology by the folks who made Love, Death, Robot series. And yeah, as we said, the Concord episode, they can probably safely can that one right now, quietly and behind the scenes. So yeah, Paul and Tom, which super chat was I looking for again? From who?
Sorry. It was gosh, I just had the name and I just forgot it again. That's my fault. I'm having.
Well, I'll find it anyway.
Brain farts.
Paul, yeah,
it was.
Plug
go ahead and plug your Glade Ribbon. Glade Ribbon.
Glade Ribbon.
Yep. So yeah, call me Chato. You can see me on my Call Me Chato channel or my my Appalling News channel. So check them both out. Have fun. I'm writing lots of things and trying to have a little bit of me time during the remainder of this summer. So trying to do both.
Yeah, one cannot forget about oneself.
True. We do need to try to stay healthy, mentally healthy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Although that's too late. That's too late for me. So thank you for having me on, gentlemen. Hopefully we'll see you on Friday.
That's the plan. So yeah, look forward to seeing you then, and thanks for being here in the meantime.
Always enjoy it. Talk to you later, guys.
Take care.
Okay, he's saying it was a member chat.
It hasn't. Yeah, it's not registered here in my
What
end.
did you say exactly? Because that might be why they're not coming. Yeah, maybe it's something you're saying that Google's not liking, so they're shooting it down. You can't remember what it was.
Because it has not appeared in our end.
Yeah, and I don't have anybody. That's weird. Because a member chat should come through, but I mean, unless Google shoots it down because of whatever you say in it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
while you look for that, Jack the Outcast says for $10, Hail Midnight's Edge. If you remove the woke from Concord, it would be a generic hero shooter with a $40 entry fee, which is about $40 too much. If you do the same thing to Dustborn, there would be no game. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly right. And then we did get the member chat from Chris K, who's been a member for 15 months, saying, Internet Historian, The Fall of 76. It's the best story of a game refund policy going sideways. Oh, I have to check that one out. Thanks for the tip. DS4 has been a member for 34 months, and we are glad to have you. And then from the Rumble side, Doug 1985 VA says for $2, Tom, let's say you and Andre created Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the comic, IP, etc. Let's say if you all could manage the actual IP right at the point of the original movie releasing 1990. Direction, y'all. Yeah, Tom, this one's for you. What would be the direction?
Oof. The problem with part 2 is it went a little too kiddie, but it almost had to, because at that time Ninja Turtles' main audience was kids. The problem was instead of the franchise growing up with the audience, it went the opposite direction for a while, and tried to appeal more and more to the younger and yet younger demographic. Instead of allowing Ninja Turtles to evolve into a franchise from those films, they decided to just destroy it. So I don't know. The problem is with hindsight, you can always go back and, Monday quarterback all you want. But at the time, I understand a lot of the choices that were made with the franchise to a point. I'm not saying I would have made those choices, but
I think
we
that's
still
the
have
question.
Ninja
What
Turtles to
choices
this
would you
day.
have
So
made?
yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, I don't necessarily know if my choices would have been any more popular than the choices that they did. I just wouldn't have went so goofy and kiddie with it. I would have and they did eventually come back around to making it a little bit more mature, and then they went back to more kiddie. Then, yeah. So it's like it's a franchise that kind of bounces around, and unfortunately, I don't know, because after part 2, things changed a lot with the franchise theatrically, obviously. So, Andre, what would you have done? I mean, I would have loved to have seen something a little bit more akin to the first film continue on, a little bit more serious and less goofy, but that's just me.
Yeah, you are the far bigger Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Like, I always came from it from the point of the view of the Saturday morning cartoon. That was my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's what I associated with the brand. Like, I never read those original comics until much, much later. So when I saw that original movie, I was disappointed. I get that people were big fans of the comics, loved that movie, and that is fine. But as someone that came to the brand from the Saturday morning cartoon, I didn't like that movie because it wasn't enough like the cartoon. And I know that was the case with everyone that I grew up with. So that's kind of like what I have to go with. I think that the first movie was the one that went into the wrong direction, which is ironic because it did go in the right direction, being based on the original comic. But I think that it maybe should have gone in more of find a way to reconciliate the cartoon with the original comics and have the movie be an amalgamation of the two, and then just carry on in that direction. That's what I would have done.
Well, that's kind of what part 2 was, more so, I guess you could say, in a way.
Part 2, I agree with you. Part 2, that went too far. It went too far in the kiddie direction, because I still think that you have like two extremes in parts 1 and part 2. Part 1 was like, in a sense, too adult for its time, but part 2 was too kiddie. What with those two mutants where you wanted to see Rocksteady and Bebop, and instead you got like what were two babies really. It was meant to create laughter and stuff like that, but not what I wanted for sure. So maybe a merging of those two directions, but from day one and continue that way would have been the way to go. Is what I would have done. But again, I'm not the expert on this brand, and who knows if that would have been any better.
No, you're probably not wrong. I mean, look, I disagree with you on the first film. I feel like the first film was the perfect combination of the comics and the cartoon. Because for those who don't know the comics at all, like, I mean, the stuff that the cartoon came up with is all there in the movie. Because the original comics, the turtles have like really no personalities. You couldn't differentiate one from the other outside of Raphael and their weapons. And even then, Raph is just more prominent. That's why, because he's more of a jerk or whatever you want to call it, or more aggressive. Other than that, I mean, the bandanas, the personalities, the pizza, April, the way she is, Splinter's personality, the story background, a lot of it is more influenced by the cartoon than you'd realize. Because most of that is not what's in the comics. Like even Splinter's background is way more convoluted than that. Like they simplified it. Like they really simplified it in the cartoon, but they added a little bit more of a nuance to it in the movie. But otherwise, there's a lot more going on there. And I mean, the original comics have more in common with Daredevil than they do with the cartoons, right? Until you get to the batshit weird, crazy alien stuff. Which then it just kind of goes in several different directions. And that's where I agree, like the cartoon did a better job of just going, we only need one kind of weird looking brain creature. Like we don't need a whole army of them or whole species of them. And I agree, like the bad move in part 2 was instead of having Bebop and Rocksteady, they decided to come up with new characters. And a lot of that was, I guess from my learning, had less to do with rights and more to do with the more toys they came up with, the more money they made. So they were looking at it from an angle of new characters. And Ninja Turtles was also one of those rare toy lines where if you created a toy, you actually got a piece of that pie. Unlike, back in the day with like Masters and G.I. Joe and all those other lines, if you created a character, tough shit, they owned it, right? But with Ninja Turtles, that's why the guys were encouraged to come up with all sorts of characters, because they would get like, I can't remember if it was like a quarter or a percentage of it, of every figure sold. But some of those guys made a lot of good money off some of those turtle figures. So that was another reason why I'm sure Eastman and Laird were all okay with that happening. And that's the other thing is, frankly, that's the problem with having two creators run something, and now you got like the same kind of thing with me and Andre here, kind of going back and forth on what we should do with this. It's why you need a strong leader, one person who can finally go, no, this is what it needs to be, for better or worse. I take responsibility, because you got two guys who are pulling the franchise in completely different directions. That was the other problem you had, because Eastman was more of the grounded kind of like grungy kind of guy to where, and Laird was more sci-fi, out there, goofier stuff. So like those two together worked okay for a while, but the franchise itself, if you look at the comics, that's where I fall off. I even fall off at a point, because it just gets too much to ask of me as the reader to get into some of this stuff. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and we're getting some new stuff eventually here. We'll have to see what happens with Paramount at the end of the day. But let's keep growing here. We got some more super chats. Did we read this one yet? I think we did.
We did, yes.
Okay, so we should be here.
Yes.
Okay, Pilgrim Media sends in $2, says, we went from Scandinavian Empire to this. Sad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. It is absolutely very, very unfortunate.
Then we got Master Clockwork, who says, trailer gave me South Park Imagination Land vibes. Oh, if it was that good. I wish. Did we get this one yet from ActionCom?
No, that we did not.
Okay, so this one we need to read yet. For 20 smackaroos from
actually, yes, we did.
Okay.
We did.
Well, thank
we
you for
did
the
get
20
it.
smackaroos.
Yeah.
What about this one?
We got that one too.
Okay, I'm going to bump these.
Yeah. I'll continue with the new one. You
Got
just
that
had
one.
that one. Samuel Main just became a new member. That's the most recent one we have. And then the only thing that remains are the ones after that. But first, welcome, Samuel. Glad to have you. And Master Clockwork says for $5, Paul, Jack Black will be a turn-off for some. Yeah, Paul had left, but this is true. For some, Tom, Jack Black will be a turn-off, but let's see if he's able to bring in more people than he turns off or not. Only time will tell on that. And then finally, Jason Webster says for $5 Hi, Tom and Andre. I'm going to see Beetlejuice today. Hope I enjoy it. The early, really positive reviews are very encouraging.
Yeah, everybody's getting to see it a little early, it seems like. I know some people got to see it yesterday already. Some people are getting to go see it today. Actually, Price of Reason, who joins us on Mead every Tuesday and Thursday, he was kicking himself in the butt yesterday because he missed out on a screening that he could have went to see. But I'm supposed to be going tomorrow if I can afford it.
They have loads of public screenings done, which I take to mean that they must have a fairly decent faith.
Well, they're like preview screenings or whatever you call them,
yeah.
I guess. But yeah, I mean, the only one so far who has said anything that's kind of been has been Grace Randolph. And she basically said that how did she put it? That the movie has an issue with the women being abused by men in the film.
All right, this is kind of like what she said about the Super Mario movie, right? Where she had an issue with it because Bowser was like he was kidnapping the princess, and that was bad and problematic.
Yeah, I hope it's just more dumb shit Grace says, but no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hopefully going to get to see it tomorrow. Fingers crossed. So yeah. So you get to find out what I think tomorrow after I get back, and we're working on a retrospective right now, actually, if it ever gets done.
We are, so that should be fun.
But yeah, she said it's about men preying on women. That's what she said. Oh, Lord.
So basically, it's an ideologically driven criticism. I would.
I hope so. Because she's the only one so far that's been giving this movie pretty much a bad review that I've seen. Now, the one review that was from, I guess you would say, people in our community that got to see it already, you know, they all said kind of the same thing. The two that I listened to, they said, is it better than the first film? Obviously not, right? Is it as good as the first film? No. Is there stuff that the audience is going to enjoy? Yes. And both of them gave it like a 6 and a 7 out of 10, which to me is like, well, that's pretty good. That's about what I'd expect. You know, I mean, I'm not expecting this movie to blow me away or anything. And I've been kind of one of the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Cautiously optimistic people about this film. So, we'll see. I know you're not a big fan. I guess Beetlejuice wasn't a big thing over there, but, or at least it wasn't your cup of tea anyway, but
no, I don't think it was that big. It certainly wasn't that big around.
I think I remember you saying that the animated series, I think, was a bigger deal than the movie.
To me, it was, yeah. I like the animated series more. And by the time I got around to actually seeing the original, it was the years later I was disappointed because there was so little Beetlejuice in it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about the movie is he's the villain, right? If you think about it, and he's only in the movie for, I think he's got 5 scenes total.
Yeah,
and then
like
that climax happens pretty quick. And that's like the bulk of his screen time. But yeah, no, I guess he's not, his presence in this film isn't much more. And Michael Keaton insisted on him being the same character. So that's a plus for me. But I could see where somebody who was a fan, I'm curious if there'll be some Easter eggs from the animated series. I'm expecting like maybe some characters in the background or some little nods here or there, but and the fact that it looks like Lydia and him will be working together in this movie to a point might actually kind of play into some things, feeling a bit like that. But no, overall it's been getting fairly good reviews. So with that, kids, I think we're going to wrap things up so I can get back to work on that video. Jesus Davila sends in one last super chat for $5. Says, I'm hearing the Cinemark theaters going to have a Beetlejuice popcorn bucket, if anyone is wondering. Yeah, I've seen a few of the buckets and stuff that are out there. I'm not going to be able to afford any of them this time, but the sandworm one looks kind of neat. The one that's Beetlejuice's grave, if I could get my hands on that one, I might, but I don't have the money for it, though. Otherwise, these popcorn buckets are neat, but they're expensive, so... Yeah, the gravestone one is probably the one I'd like to get my hands on, though. So, but with that, Andre, anything else we need to plug before we head out here?
No, I think we are pretty good. Apart from that Midnight Edge Espanol is coming up right after this. This stream redirects there. So just stay where you are and head on over and check out the guys over at Espanol. And with that, it is time
Also,
for some... Yes?
Let's say check out our more recent video, too.
Of course, check out our recent videos, especially the ones on Dustborn, which is doing pretty well. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to be received in the Norwegian gaming community. That should be
there. You go.
That should be a sight to behold.
Now some soggy marsupials.
Indeed. So with that, bring on the koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.